Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Boink Studios, and check us out on boinkstudios.com, where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 93 of the podcast, and if you're joining us today for the very first time, we'll bid you welcome. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for checking back in with us. And to all those involved, we will extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Thanks for supporting. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. So we're finally back with another episode. It's not been a month this time. Sometimes we get to the point, man, where we're due like... At my peak, I was banging out 2 to 4 a month. And now it's 1 a month if I'm lucky. My creative output is not what it used to be. For whatever reason. Dude, life gets in the way. Do you know what I mean? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? But we are back. It is good to be back with you. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you with us. And... man, we've got a lot to talk about today, all right? Well, you don't know that, but I feel like we do. There's been some things happen since the last time we hung out. We're going to get right down to it. First of all, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing outside of this slapstick world of pro wrestling that we all have come to love, right? Sometimes hate, sometimes both. Yours truly, man, I've just been living life. Do you know what I mean? Just been doing my thing, man. Whatever time I'm not spent, bringing home the bacon, as it were. I'm writing, as always. I'm also still playing the bass and digging that. I'm getting more into music here lately because of playing the bass. I've been playing a little over a year, and I feel like I've gotten better. I'm still no expert, but I'm 99.9% self-taught, thanks to the wonderful YouTube app and various other places online. Mostly online. Really, I'm working on tabs. That's kind of my thing. I'm hoping I get to the point where I won't need them anymore. I'm to the point now, honestly, after about 13 months of this. I'm to the point after 13 months or so that I get to where I can listen to a song and I can just about find it on the bass. And I've tried it first on a couple of different tunes and then went and looked the tabs up and have been pretty darn close. So that's pretty cool. So that's what I've been up to. And as far as what music I've gotten into lately, I recently downloaded John Coltrane and Duke Ellington. Which, silly me, I call myself a jazz fan, and I had no idea that album even existed, which is odd. But it's called, it's just Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. If you haven't checked it out, if you're a fan of jazz at all, I've always been a fan of Coltrane. You have to go check it out. And also, they've recently released Coltrane's, what they're calling the Lost album. And supposedly it's his last studio recordings before he passed, and it's called Both Directions at Once. I recommend that as well. It sounds good. It's new Coltrane. When's the last time you got new John Coltrane? I'm just saying. That's what I've been listening to on the music front. I've also gotten into some Wu-Tang Clan lately. Part of it has to do with watching Luke Cage, Season 2, which I'm about a little over halfway through right now. But it occurred to me that I appreciated Wu-Tang when they were red hot in the 90s and doing their thing, but I didn't really follow them that much. So lately I've really gotten into the band and listened to them, and not only appreciated but respected what they brought to the business. I say business. I use the word business a lot. Maybe I overuse it. I can't help it, man. I'm a pro wrestling guy. I was telling the story, was it today? It might have been yesterday, about getting hurt on the job. Not this job. I'm not really going to get hurt on this job. Leg cramps from sitting in the chair too long. That's been known to happen, I'm just saying. Happened the other day, actually. But I got hurt in my civilian job and bruised 3 ribs, and it was terrible. If you've ever hurt ribs, you can't breathe, you can't eat, you can't do anything, you can't sleep. Forget that crap. It's not happening, right? But I remember asking the doc, and I can't talk about that laughing because it's so silly. I remember asking the doc, I said, well, what happens? Do you tape the ribs up or what? And he just gives me this look as if to say, what are you, friggin' stupid? Dude, I'm a pro wrestling fan. I didn't know you didn't tape up a guy's ribs when he busts them up. I just thought that was normal. Turns out, that's not something that's done, okay? And who knew? I didn't know that at all. It's funny. It is what it is. He's like, no, we don't really do that. I'm like, okay, well, cool. So you learn something new every day. So that's what's been happening in the world of Tom. Wasn't those just amazingly epic stories? There's other stuff going on too, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. I just want to give you the incredible highlights of my life to this point. So now that you are captivated and ready to get into the show, let's do that, shall we? 6+ minutes in. Let's go ahead and do that. So this time the main event is Let's Play the Feud. So this comes with my unnatural obsession as of late with the Steve Harvey version of the Family Feud. Some terrible stuff, man. You can't appreciate how many stupid people we have in this country until you realize, number one, how many people support, the president, and number two, how ridiculous Family Feud is. That's when you start to understand the depths of ridiculousness that exists in the United States, and it's just getting progressively worse. But let's don't drag the show down. Let's get to it. What's Pro Wrestling Feud? What's it mean to you? What's it do for you? What's the thrust of it? What is it? Just two guys? I mean, people talk about the difference between a feud and a rivalry. When writing a column, I tend to flip-flop the words because I don't want to say the word feud 200 times in a column. Sometimes I'll flip-flop it and I'll change it to rivalry. But the truth is, there's a difference. Rivalry can last for years. A feud might last for a couple of months. It's kind of like dating or getting married. You know what I mean? Like when you're in a rivalry, man, you're in a long-term rivalry, you're pretty much marrying that person. It's like saying, okay, I'm making a commitment to you. I'm going to be here for you, that kind of thing. When you're in a feud, it's a fling, man. Might last a week, might last a month. And WWE, it might last like 10 minutes, who knows? It may not even happen at all. False starts in that company, brother, all the way around. But what do feuds mean to you? Let me tell you right now, there are a few. I am currently, by the way, as a side note, rewatching Money in the Bank and honestly, I've not watched the entirety of Money in the Bank except for maybe twice, which is kind of stunning because usually after a WWE Network event, which I think I'm going to start calling it WWE Network event instead of pay-per-view. I mean, we're past that, aren't we? Aren't we past that now? I think from now on, the correct terminology will be WWE Network event. Special. I can't call it show. In the, God, what's it been? 8 years I've been doing this. You're going to find very few instances of me using the word show, and that comes from having been in the business. I was taught, and maybe not everyone buys into this, I don't know. But I was taught that the word show is a fan term, and it's not a term that we use on the inside. That's just what I was taught. It's a term for the marks. And it wasn't said, by the way, looking down at fans either. Let's don't get back on that soapbox again, but don't think I can't, okay? but I'm not doing that right now. But the word show, again, I was taught that was not a word we use. But anyway, we digress here, right? But let's get back to it. So there's several feuds that are happening. And like I said, I'm watching Money in the Bank right now. I'm watching the very beginning of Nakamura versus AJ, which appears to be over now. Nakamura recently got bit by a dog, which is like the oddest thing ever to happen. Of all the ways a pro wrestler can get hurt, getting bit by a dog is not one I would have imagined unless it involved like a melee or a riot or something like that, or I don't know what I would have imagined, but I didn't see that coming. But AJ, did you hear the dog? We have dogs in the neighborhood, man. It's ridiculous. Try to soundproof the studio as much as you can. It's not easy, right? We're not going to take that out. That's just, he's a special guest star this week. Don't know his name. We'll call him Blue just because it's fun. I don't know why. Plus it's the SmackDown match. It's the Blue brand. What do you want from me? I'm trying, okay? Do you understand me? I'm doing all I can. So, I would have to say Nakamura and AJ is a rivalry. I don't call it a feud. It lasted for a long time. You could argue that it never really ended from New Japan, right? Because there was animosity still there, at least on Shinsuke's part, at least from his character's point of view. It was still there. Shinsuke, let me tell you right now, he's been getting all sorts of praise for really embracing the heel character. Dude, he did this stuff in New Japan. He was the top heel in that company for a while. I mean, people tend to forget that. The only reason he turned face in New Japan, all right, was because he just got over. He was just so good as a heel, man. He just got over. Fans couldn't stop cheering for him. They just fell in love with him. So that's, not saying he's not doing a bang-up job right now. He is. But, let's don't sell the guy short. He was doing this long before he ever got to the States. So, jumping from that to this, let's talk about a feud that's a possibility, as long as Shinsuke heals up from the vicious dog. I don't know how bad it was. Does anyone out there know? I haven't looked it up. But, as long as he recovers and he's okay, here's the feud I want to see. Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And, man, they started, and then Nakamura gets hurt. I believe that this may not be a career-long rivalry, like Dusty versus Rick, Dusty versus Tully, the Horseman versus Dusty. Any combination of those, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, which lasted a long time. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, if you're throwing it out there, Raven and Tommy Dreamer. We're talking about career-long rivalries that can mend their fences during certain points, but then they're going to come right back to the feud eventually, to the rivalry. I don't know if that's what we're talking about with Hardy and Nakamura, but man, let me tell you something right now. Those two guys match up so incredibly well, which is part of the deal, yes? Part of the deal, part of hooking the fans is being able to have chemistry between two guys in the ring. That's how you connect. That's how you have connection to the fans. That's how you draw people in. That's how you make money off of it, is by bringing the fans in. When two guys have chemistry, then it means all the difference in the world, and that's what we're talking about. And you talk about chemistry. It looks as though, I say looks as though because we haven't had a chance to really see just yet, but Nakamura and Hardy just match up so incredibly well on paper. It's no joke. So I'm interested to see what happens with that, because it's one of those things where it's like, it seems like it's a feud that just writes itself. They could just print money off this thing, And I wrote about this, and me, guys, I always try to link the podcast back to something I've written lately. I have to find it because I'm unprepared for this. I just like to record, man. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so I recently wrote about this whole deal, and about the connection between Jeff and Nakamura. And honestly, I feel like it's such a good pairing, and I think it's something that fans want to see. You know what I mean? And it's got potential to make some money. That's what I believe. Check it out on Daily DDT. Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke Nakamura will shine in new feud. Well, I thought they were going to. Jeff's face popped up on screen in like the Willow gimmick, right? And which, it's different, but it's him. It's Jeff. It's what he does, right? And it's time that Jeff got on track because Matt's doing the whole Woken thing on Raw, and that's cool. But like Jeff needed something. And usually it's almost to the point where you can barely remember the days of when Matt was number 2 and Jeff was number 1. Right? Those days lasted a long time. Can we just be honest? And I consider myself friendly with Matt. Met him and did an interview one time years ago. I don't know if he remembers any bit of that. Maybe he doesn't. The guy's been all over the world. But we talk occasionally on Twitter, on direct message and stuff. Just an occasional, how are you doing? How's the family? That kind of thing. It's nothing major. But, I don't know if anyone can remember that. And I don't know that it ever mattered to him. But at one point, that Jeff Hardy was undeniably the star of that tag team. Undeniably. And it's not that fans hated Matt. It's just they looked at Matt and said, he's okay. We don't dislike him. We just think, he's okay. But Jeff, wow. It's hard to explain that. You know what I mean? It's like it's an odd combination. It's an odd example, man. It's like putting Captain Jack Sparrow next to Johnny Depp. Like, Johnny Depp's cool, but Jack Sparrow's so much cooler. Do you know what I mean? So much cooler. And that's sort of how I looked at it. Like, I liked Matt, but Jeff was obviously the star. And he didn't have to try hard. Jeff still doesn't have to try hard. Can we be honest? If that company decided to get behind him the way it did it, at one point before in the past, dude, Jeff be the top guy on SmackDown. He wouldn't even need the belt to do that either. And we're talking about a brand that has AJ, Nakamura, Daniel Bryan. But dude, I'm telling you right now, Jeff has it. All right, I'm sorry, but Jeff has it. He's always had it. He was born with it. You can't teach it, man. You can't teach charisma. You can't teach the it factor. Some guys have it. Jesus, Jeff has it by the freaking truckload, man. You can't teach that stuff, right? But talk about Hardy versus Nakamura. Dude, I'm all in. I would love to see that happen. I think that there's a lot of potential there to do a lot of good, to entertain a lot of people. And I think it would be great to see. Let's jump to something else here, and I would call this a feud also. And, I just want to, in case you haven't figured this out, I just want to touch on current feuds. I'm not going to go real deep on this and talk about the past, the history, which is unlike me, by the way. But I just want to try to keep it current. But let's talk about another one, Strowman versus Owens. Which, by the way, also on Daily DDT, Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens, one fun WWE feud. Because it so is, man. It so is. It's just one of those things where they shouldn't. Okay, so it's a little background. It is hard, honestly, to pair anyone up with Braun Strowman. When you're 7 foot tall, what is he, 340, 330, whatever he is, maybe heavier. It's hard to pair anyone up with him unless you're the Big Show or Kane or another 7 foot guy. It's tough. It's not impossible. It's just tough. Okay? But when you can't measure up a guy, or I should say pair up a guy in terms of size and height and power, then you go the other direction. Like you couldn't, for example, you couldn't pair up Mick Foley and Undertaker based upon size, strength, power, domination. You couldn't do that. It's impossible because you look at those two guys, you can tell they're just not going to happen. So Foley had to go another route. He had to play mind games. He had to get into his head, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. Except it's on a different level. You pair up Owens' smugness, his cockiness, his arrogance, his smarmy. Seth Rollins was the best smarmy heel for my money since Tully Blanchard. I said I wasn't going to talk about the past. I lied. I'm a liar. But not since Tully Blanchard, man, for my money, had we seen such a smarmy heel. The word was invented. The word was written by Tully Blanchard, okay? But it was reinvented by Seth Rollins. That's how I look at it, man. He was so good. God, you liked him in the ring and you respect him. You just want to smack the crap out of the guy, right? It's like, oh my God, I can't stand this guy. And you knew better, right? But, one look at Tully, you can look at a photograph of Tully in the suit with that smirk on his face and you go, God, I hate this guy. Seth had that. He so had that. Kevin's got it now as well. Kevin's always had it, but it's to a different degree. Kevin's is comical. Kevin's is very self-deprecating in many regards. And that's who he is. So you take that sense of humor, that just a half ounce of comedy, just enough to make you smile, but not enough to make the situation overly goofy. You take that personality and you pair it up with a guy who also has comedy, has a great sense of timing, but is not supposed to be funny at all, and that's Braun Strowman. Dude, they match up so extremely well together. And that's sort of the underlying theme, I guess, of this episode is when it comes to feuds is that, guys have to match up. They have to, they have to connect. They have to have chemistry. Otherwise, no one believes it. No one falls for it. No one connects. No one cares. Right? And that's sort of what we're talking about here. So, you've already got Nakamura and Hardy. You've got Owens and Strowman, who are just getting started. And I think that these two guys do a lot of good. Don't be surprised, by the way, when Owens and Strowman end up maybe even as tag team champions at some point. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Not a bit. Because I think Owens could ride the fence. I think Owens could be heel. And Braun Strowman could be babyface, and they could work together for the greater good. It's like one guy you can't stand, one guy you love, but it's like you can't help but cheer for the guy you can't stand because he's helping the guy you love, and they work together. And, it's kind of like Cesaro and Sheamus, I guess, before Cesaro turned full-blown heel with Sheamus. But, that's that's my take on it. So I think they're just getting started. I think it's a good pairing. I think it'll be a while before you see them as a tag team. But, so be it. I'm going to enjoy the ride. You should too. I think it'll be cool. Hate to boil it down in just the simplest terms, but that's how I feel, man. So speaking of great tag teams, and this really has nothing to do with feuding or whatever. I guess we can link it back to that if you want to. I mean, if you really need me to, I will. Jeez. How about the reunion of Team Hell No? Daniel Bryan. WrestlingRumors.net. Hello. I'm on there too. Team Hell No reunion is perfect for Daniel Bryan in WWE because it so is. This thing is absolutely perfect for him. And I've already read some opinions. What are they doing? This is ridiculous. Daniel Bryan should be a world title contender. Just stop, man. Can I be upfront with you guys right now? There's a lot of people writing a lot of pro wrestling columns every day. Every day. You as fans, you as readers, you as the consumer, good word, consumer, you have to decide who you want to read. There's only so many hours in the day. You can't possibly read every column online unless you don't have a job or don't have a life. If you don't have a job, you probably don't have any money for internet to begin with, right? Jeez. Get a job. Lazy people. What the heck? But there's no way. So you have to discriminate. You have to decide who you appreciate, who you like, who you don't like. For those of you out there who read my stuff and appreciate it, respect it, thank you. I appreciate it. It's cool to hear. It's great to have support. For those of you out there who have read my stuff and maybe don't agree with it, hey, thanks to you too, man. At least you're clicking. I'll enjoy dialogue. I will tell you this, however, I haven't read comments in years. I just can't. When I first started in this business, I read all the comments. I got slammed. Man, on an open fire, dude. I was roasted alive so many times. And I took it to heart. I was like, dude, this sucks, I learned very early on in this process, man, that you can't make everyone happy. Some people are going to appreciate and enjoy what you write. Some people are going to hate it. That's just how it is. But again, you've only got so many hours of the day. You have to decide what you want to read, who you want to respect, and who you agree with. But I want to tell you right now, there's a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of pro wrestling writers writing a lot of pro wrestling stories about a lot of pro wrestlers. And some of it is absolute garbage, okay? This thing that we do, and I'm guilty of it too, we all are to a certain extent, this thing that we do where we knee-jerk reaction to an instant situation and we paint it to be the worst thing that's ever happened, I have legit attempted to knock that off. Because it doesn't help. It's not doing a thing. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anyone any good. To be honest with you, it's not really helping anybody. It's not making me sound smart or in the know. It's not helping that guy. It's not, making the reader feel better. It's not doing anything at all to that point. It's not doing anything. It's just making you sound like you hate the product and you hate the company and you could do it better yourself. Which you can't. I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe you could. I don't know. But they're probably not going to call you and ask you. Let's be honest. They're not calling me either, so don't feel bad. But I don't know on what planet or in what reality this is a bad move for Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan just got back, okay? He came back at WrestleMania 34. Had a great showing. Has been doing fine ever since. There is no need to rush this guy. If you need to slow him down, and notice I didn't say kill his momentum, but slow him down and give him time with Kane, give him time to have some fun, to do something else for a bit before the WWE Championship comes into play or before the United States Championship comes into play, then let him do it. Let him have this. Let him have fun. You think the fans don't want this? That's like saying the Shield shouldn't have gotten back together, man. I mean, it fell apart because guys got hurt. It is what it is. But, there's no reason why the Shield shouldn't have got back together. So don't tell me Team Hell No can't get back together now. Come on, man. It's silly. It's ridiculous. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're also entitled to be wrong. I'm telling you, man, I've read a lot of nonsense. I'm just saying. But I think it's fine. Honestly, I do. And while we're at it, while we're hanging around on WrestlingRumors.net, how's about this for you? Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre at some point are probably going to feud. And again, we're talking about we go from feud to tag team back to feud. Why? Because let's play the feud, that's why. But Ziggler and McIntyre right now are okay. They're best buds, they're bros, right? BFFs, as it were. But, Dolph Ziggler's Intercontinental Champion. I don't know that Drew McIntyre cares about that title. I mean, I don't know. And I don't know that it's going to come to McIntyre taking the belt off of Dolph Ziggler. Having said that, I don't think he needs to. I don't think it needs to be about that. I don't think any of it needs to be about that. Because what I think is that eventually these two are going to have issues. And it may not even be McIntyre turning on Ziggler. It could be Ziggler turning on McIntyre. Could play out any number of ways. But a lot of people right now, as they're, in the same breath as saying that Bryan shouldn't be back with Kane, are also probably saying that McIntyre should be the next guy to challenge Brock Lesnar. I say that with a chuckle because, man, you have to stop and think about what we're talking about here. Drew just got back, man. I mean, he just got there. You can't... Okay, let's just think about this. And this is, by the way, as we said, Wrestling Rumors, Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre headed for a future rivalry? Question mark. Because I don't know if they are. It's a question. We'll see what happens, right? But think about this, okay? In terms of what works and what doesn't. The last time WWE took a guy and strapped a rocket to him, as Christian and Edge like to say, I totally stole that, my God. Unintentional theft, right? But as much as WWE took the rocket, strapped it to Roman Reigns, and propelled him up the ladder at 600 miles an hour. How'd that work out? No. Worked out pretty good for Roman's bank account. WWE's made some money, yes. How did it work out for Roman as a character? Not too good. Not too good. And here's what kills me is that the company has, in all their wisdom, I tread carefully because, I have people hitting me saying, you don't know, what do you know, Tom? You don't work for the company. Because trust me, it'll happen. Thank God I don't read the comments. I don't have to sweat it, right? But, so what do you know, Tom? Well, listen, here's what I know. Boil it all down to this. Okay? If you say to me that Roman Reigns accepted the fact a long time ago that he's not going to be universally loved because he had to, then you're right. 100% right. But I believe that the company sold him on that notion, sold him on that idea. The whole idea of, listen, Roman, the only thing that matters is that you're getting a reaction. Well, dude, you could put a dog in a tuxedo and walk him down the ramp, he'll get a reaction. I think we've gone past that, haven't we? Haven't we gone past the point of, if the crowd was dead quiet, then that means that Roman's not over. Dude, shut up. For real. Okay? For real. I don't know how people make that sort of argument, like in defense of Roman. I'm not attacking the guy. But call it for what it is. Roman Reigns, the company wants Roman Reigns to be the universally loved top baby face. And if you say I'm wrong, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Proof's in the pudding. Roman's not booked against heels. Roman doesn't cheat to win. Roman doesn't lie. Roman doesn't take the easy way out. Roman doesn't threaten women. Roman doesn't turn on his best friends. Roman doesn't threaten to hurt fans. Roman doesn't curse anyone out. Roman's not a heel. By the way, small soapbox moment. I read some headline. Actually, it's on Wikipedia. Talking about Bayley's heel turn. Bayley's heel turn? Bayley didn't turn heel. What the heck, man? We'll get to that in a second. Hold up. Just hold on. It's coming. But my point is this. Look at the chaos that has surrounded Roman Reigns' career. Do you think that Drew wants that? First of all, if you think Drew McIntyre does want to be on top, you're out of your mind. You think he doesn't want to be on top? Of course he does. You think AJ Styles? Of course he does. You think James Ellsworth doesn't want to be on top? You're out of your mind. Charlotte Flair? Of course they do. It's the WWE. They're the largest game in town. Why in the world wouldn't you want to be on top in that company? I mean, obviously you would. Don't tell me you wouldn't. But just as Daniel Bryan just got back, Drew McIntyre just got back, there's no reason to rush him. There's no reason to push him up the ladder too fast, too soon. Because he will inexplicably fail. Doesn't matter how good he is. Doesn't matter how talented. Doesn't matter how far he's come since he left the company or since he went to TNA and developed his character and developed his skills. Doesn't make a difference. He'll fail. The company cannot continue to do this, and fans cannot feel as though someone has been shoved down their throat, because the moment that becomes a reality, whether it's a reality or not, it's a reality to them, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Period. So you can't let that happen. So, there. Meh. So, he'll get there one day. I think it's safe to say that by WrestleMania 35, he will either have, a secondary championship or be on his way to getting one or something. But I don't, and I could be wrong. They could fast track him and screw this all up. I don't know. And it may be okay, but mark my words, it won't be okay forever, because that kind of forward movement too quickly will hurt him in the long run. It will. And you don't want that to happen. Surely he doesn't want that to happen either. Take your time. Slow and steady wins the race, which is a lesson that WWE should know by now, but they don't understand it. It's like they've forgotten. They forgot what got them on top to begin with. Character development, man. Taking your time with a guy. Don't rush him too fast, or don't kill him too soon either. Don't shut a guy down too fast because you feel like it don't work, and don't shove a guy up too fast because you feel like you got to do it right now. Just take your time. Character development is a very important thing, right? Okay, enough soapboxing on that. Let's get to the Bayley thing, shall we? And once again, we're hanging out on WrestlingRumors.net. Bayley versus Sasha Banks is the hottest angle in WWE. Okay. I didn't know this was a thing, by the way, but apparently it is. Did Bayley turn heel on Sasha? No. No. Want to know why? They both have taken shots at each other over the past few months. Both of them. This thing's gotten way, way personal. And Bayley didn't turn on her fans. She didn't turn on Kurt. She didn't turn on anyone else. She turned on the woman that she considered her best friend. The one that brought her to Raw, remember that? That's who she turned on. You know, great friends, better enemies. Maybe, perhaps, we'll see. But it's the hottest angle in the company right now. Come at me. You can't, because you can't argue it. It's by far the hottest angle in the company. They're so good together. They're so good against each other. They took the reins off Bayley and they said, just destroy this chick. Tear her up, man. Go out there and just make her suffer. She did. I almost thought it went too far. And that's where the heel aspect comes in. Don't even say it. But here's my thing. When she mounted Sasha and after the bell rang, she didn't clip her from behind. She didn't hit her in the back of the head. She didn't hit her in the back. She got right on top of her face to face and started laying it in. Okay? And, you know, you can say, well, Sasha was recovering from the match. She was tired. Everyone's tired. Point is that Bayley didn't take the easy way out. Now, did it go too far? I think it went too far. And here's my deal. This is not, this is not Becky Lynch. This is not Charlotte. This is not, Naomi. This is not Natalya. This is not any other woman in the roster, on the roster. This is Bayley, the perennial favorite, the perennial babyface. This chick sells merchandise. A lot of them do. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is, you've seen the girls in the crowd. This is not an act. They're not plants, I don't think. These are real people. These girls love Bayley. There's something about Bayley that connects to them because Bayley looks younger. She looks like a teenager, really, And, she's girlish and kind of innocent, not really a woman per se, the way she carries herself. She sells merch. You see little girls in the audience, they're dressed up just like her. They're clones, man. They're little Baileys. I don't know what she'd call it. Sting called his fans little stingers. What would Bayley call his fans, her fans? The little Bayley. I don't know. The little huggers. Maybe that's it. There you go. But, it's a thing. Dude, when a kid is going to these shit and all of a sudden they're like, Bayley did mean stuff. She was mean. I don't think I want to wear her stuff anymore. Next thing you know, the merch sales slow down. Now, the crowd loved it. The crowd's bloodthirsty, right? But here's the point I get to in this piece that I wrote about this budding rivalry in the new feud, or the feud that's ongoing, however you want to put it. Here's the point that I made in this piece. I don't know if it was because the crowd is extremely bloodthirsty as much as it is that the crowd has always wanted Bayley. They've always wanted to like her. Even the ones that boo her. There's nothing really to boo about, but there's nothing to hate about Bayley, man. She's entertaining. She's fun. She has heart. She loves this. I mean, how many times have people dissed Brock Lesnar, have fans diss Brock Lesnar because they're like, dude, Brock doesn't love this business. He doesn't care about pro wrestling. He just wants to get paid. Dude, that's a thing too. People hate that about him. That's not just a tagline. It's not just something that the company uses against him in a storyline. This is reality, man. People hate that guy for this stuff. And then when you have someone like Bayley who's absolutely in this for the right reasons, absolutely, worked her way up the ladder. Started off the right way, worked her way to WWE, got noticed, got in there. Making a career for herself, making a name for herself in the industry. And she loves what she's doing. Becky Lynch said one time that she's going to do this till the wheels fall off. And, I mean, it looks like it's the same for Bayley, for Sasha, for a lot of these women. They want to do this. They just want to keep going. It's what they want to do. They want to be wrestlers. That's it. It's not about let's all become actresses after this is over, be centerfolds like, back in the day. Whatever the case may be, let's actually be in there and let's make careers of this. Let's be legends. Let's inspire others to follow in our footsteps the way Lita and Trish inspired us. That's Bayley, man. That's totally Bayley right there. For real. So don't tell me that it's not a big deal if she were to turn heel. I don't think she's turned heel. I do think she went too far. I think the spot carried on way longer than it should have. That's just me talking. I think it should have stopped, to be honest with you. I think she got her point across. Once she dragged her out of the ring, and I heard someone on a podcast recently say their head bounced off the floor. No, it didn't. Go back and watch it. Anytime you get really, really, really wrapped up in a spot or an event or an attack or whatever, the match or whatever the case may be, go back and give it a second viewing, because honestly, there's probably going to be something you ever exaggerated. I do it all the time too. It's not that you mean to. It's just that it's part of the excitement. It's part of being in the moment. It's what it's like to be a fan, man. But yeah, just go back and watch it, because that's not what happened. But I don't think it was a heel turn. I just don't see that. Now, the next time you see Bayley on Raw, she may be flipping off the fans. It may be Stone Cold Bayley. I don't know. If it is, it is. I'll eat my words. It's fine. But from where I'm sitting right now, I don't see it. I don't think it's a heel turn at all. Just me talking. So, on the subject of feuds, because, hey, that's this show, right? Let's talk about this, dude. Okay. Ronda Rousey. In one of the coolest moments, honestly, that you've seen for a long time, and we're back to wrestling rumors again, by the way. Ronda Rousey suspended just when she gets red hot in WWE. I wrote another column recently that you'll see shortly about the whole Ronda Alexa Bliss thing, to be honest. But this is another feud. And again, I don't know if this has a potential to be a career-long rivalry, but, Alexa is such a good heel. I don't see Alexa turning face. There's one change I don't see coming anytime soon, by the way. I just don't see it. I don't think she needs to. I don't think it'd be a good move for her, but either way. The thing with the spot on Raw when Rousey put her down, and really took her down, took her out. Finally, Ronda Rousey gets her edge. And I think it was an edge that they tried to give her from day one with the whole Stephanie thing. But she was stifled because of Kurt Angle's constant, mentoring and monitoring and all this stuff. And that's in the column too, by the way. But I don't see that now, because the moment she turned on Kurt, and she didn't really turn on Kurt, she just was out of frustration and anger, But when all that happened, you could see, okay, this is what this chick is like when they take the governor off. And that's what they had done. And it was nice. And it was really nice to see. And she was in her element. And man, the fans popped. She was red hot. You could have put the towel on that chick the next week, and it would have been awesome. How many dudes in that company you could say that about? Like, the week after a great moment, I'll give her the belt. That's it. Do it. I'm going to tell you right now, man, red hot. And then they pull her off TV. I had a problem with this. And I still do to a certain extent, but now, a week or, 2 weeks after I wrote this column, I've written this next one, and I see it now. Because the week after Ronda gets supposedly suspended, Bayley attacked Sasha. I mean, would that have even happened if Ronda didn't get suspended, quote unquote, for 30 days? I don't think so, because it's sort of mimicking what you saw. But since Ronda was not on the program, you kind of weren't thinking about it, right? Last thing you want to do is mimic or duplicate another storyline or angle, or do too much that reminds you of it, or whatever the case may be. So it worked. It got over. Fans popped for Ronda, as well they should. I mean, it was fun. There were some groans when she took the briefcase to Angle, but there shouldn't have been. I mean, Stone Cold attacked everybody in the ring. No one had a problem with that. Stone Cold, he gave the center to referees, ring announcer, timekeeper, the guy selling sodas in the front row, the cameraman, everybody. Didn't matter. People loved him for it. That's who he was. That's who Ronda could be too. But I see Ronda as more of a level-headed, like, don't cross her. She comes out smiling all the time, which makes me crazy. I just can't help it. I mean, you know she loves being there. And there's something else that drew fans to her. Okay, so she hasn't spent her entire life in the business. But you know that she loves the business. And here's the thing. Remember when Stephen Amell worked a tag match? I'm trying to think of, was it WrestleMania that year? I believe. God, I can't remember now. Is that terrible? But Stephen Amell is such a fan. Been a fan his whole life, right? And if Stephen Amell wanted to, honestly, if Arrow ended today and Stephen Amell called up Cody and said, I want to make this a reality, he could do it. He so could do it. He and Cody are friends. He's going to be all in, by the way. But fans didn't turn on this guy. They appreciated him. Why? Because he took it seriously. He didn't laugh at it. He didn't get in the ring and do his match, which, by the way, was a good match, dude. Very good. Okay? It wasn't Hall of Fame or anything like that, but it didn't have to be. He did exactly what he should have done. He got the match over, did his part. He did a fine job, man. Just a fine job. But, yes, I'm a comic book fanboy. Come at me. I don't care. But he took it seriously. Ronda takes this seriously. She's not coming at this tongue-in-cheek. Now, I don't much care for the stuff she says outside of the company. She went on some talk show and was making fun of it. Not fun of it, but talking about how they were teaching her to use the stare and all this. I saw on her Google Live Q&A session where she admitted that WWE is scripted. I'm old school, man. I still don't care for that. I don't care for the whole idea of, every chance we get, we have to get out there and remind everyone that this is not legitimate athletic competition. I just don't care for that. I can't get past that. I just don't care for it. Never had, never will. That's just me, though. But, everything she does on the other side of the curtain, which is the side that we maybe hopefully care about, right? Don't get too hung up like I do. Sorry. She takes it seriously. She doesn't make light of it. She's really in it to win it. That's how it feels. Doesn't feel like a worked match at all when she's in the ring. It feels like she's actually trying to win. I mean, the spots are obviously choreographed and everything, but it feels like she's the real deal. Takes it seriously. That's what matters, dude. That's what matters. That's why people gravitate toward her. That's why they still have her. They got her back now. And, dude, when she laid out Alexa Bliss, game on, man. I'm telling you right now. Ronda had a good match with Nia Jax at Money in the Bank. I mean, Nia didn't look like she'd only been in the business a few years. She looked like a veteran of 10 years. And honestly, we all expected Nia to carry Rousey. I wrote that. I said Ronda would know her spots, but Nia was going to have to carry the bulk of the match. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's what happened. Can I be honest? I don't know if that's what happened. I think you saw Ronda carry more than her fair share of that match. Ronda sold for Nia Jax, man. I mean, think about that. If you want to know how serious Ronda is about the pro wrestling thing, dude, she sold for a girl that is heavy. And this is no disrespect to Nia. She sold for a girl that is heavy, who's not ripped, doesn't have muscular arms, who isn't trained in a martial art. She's just a pro wrestler. And she's only been doing it for 3 years. And, you give Ronda the opportunity, she could she could legit make this girl tap out. Make Nia tap out for sure. 100%. Period. And she sold for her. Like gangbusters. And that's how serious she is about this whole thing. The whole thing. That's how serious she takes it. She never tried to go into business for herself. Anyone that does that in the ring is not going to have the job very long. That's just not reality. It's not going to happen. People talk about that. It's not going to happen. Whenever we have seen it, there have been repercussions because of it. Because it's dangerous. Because no one wants to work someone that goes into business for themselves, because all they care about is themselves. They don't care about anyone else. They don't care about you. They don't care about their opponents. They don't care about making a match look good. They just want to look good. That's not working. Not working, man. So you got to think about those things. So yeah, she takes it 100% seriously. And as well she should. I mean, this is her life now. She said those words multiple times. This is my life now. But you got to know that after all the stuff with Alexa clears up, however it's going to end, it's going to be Ronda versus Charlotte. I'm thinking WrestleMania 35, 2019. Now, I could be wrong. I think there is a world in which Rousey goes into 2019 as the Raw Women's Champion. Charlotte goes in as a SmackDown Women's Champion. It's title for title. Now, maybe that's not believable. Maybe that's not going to happen because maybe the company doesn't care to unify the belts. It could be title for title. It could be just one woman has both championships and she travels to both shows. I don't know. And maybe that's not in the cards at all. Who knows, man? But I will tell you this. I think the company can do whatever they want to do with Ronda and make it work because she's in this thing for good. She's in it for real. I wish we saw more of her. I know they try to protect her like they do Brock 24/7, right? But, I mean, I get that. I'm not stupid here. I understand. But I'd like to see more of Ronda, to be honest with you. I think she is... she's one of the highlights of that program. And, I mean, Bayley versus Sasha is the hottest angle. But, dude, I think that Ronda's the hottest superstar they have. Closest thing they have to a genuine top guy, babyface anyway, because Roman's not it. We won't get back on that again. But, yeah, man, so some excellent feuds starting to play out in WWE, for sure. And there's a lot of reason to be happy with what you're seeing. There's a lot of reason to be excited by what you're seeing and to, to just enjoy the moment. I mean, feuds are what make the business go around. They're what make the company go around. I mean, without good feuds, pro wrestling is nothing. It's built on feuds. Storylines jump off. The feuds are jumping off points for great storylines. They really are. The better the feud, the better the storyline, hopefully. And the better the guys and gals in those feuds, the better the storyline. Again, hopefully. Chemistry has to be there. The planets have to line up perfect. I mean, the company can book it as great or as well as they want to, but the fans have to be into it. The town has to be into it. The timing has to be right. Everything has to work together. And when that happens, then you get Dusty versus Tully. You get the Rock and Rolls versus the Midnights. You get, Magnum versus Nikita. You get these feuds that will stand the test of time. I mean, 30 years from now, from the day of this recording, we will still be talking about Dusty versus Rick. Imagine that. Going down in history, man. That's a big deal. So yes, everything has to roll out perfectly if you want it to work. It all has to, and it does, and it will. You know what I mean? And for these, I believe it will. There's every possibility it won't. I mean, we've seen feuds in the past, and that's the flip side of this discussion, is feuds that didn't work, for whatever reason. Feuds that started off good but fizzled. Feuds that could have been great, or feuds that should have happened, maybe didn't happen. There's a whole other podcast on that, whole other discussion we might get into at some point. But, again, great feuds are what pro wrestling companies are based on, and that's what makes them thrive. Because with great feuds, you can develop main event superstars. You can cultivate new talents, and hopefully one day they will become new main event superstars. That's what it's all about. 100%, man. And I'm telling you, there's reason to be excited for the feuds we're seeing in WWE right now. I truly believe that. What do you think? I mean, what's your favorite right now? What are the one you're looking forward to the most? Because I've only mentioned a handful. I mean, if you really want to, run the gamut here of what's going on in that company, you got to go all the way down to NXT. There's other stuff happening. You really got to get into it. But I think there's enough there to be happy. I think there's enough to keep you coming back for more. I think it's great stuff, And I think there's a lot more to come. We didn't get to talk about any other company today. We're going to, we've talked about New Japan here on the company before, on the program before. Talked a little bit of Lucha Underground, not a whole lot. Rarely ever talk any Impact Wrestling. Talk a little Ring of Honor, right? But we mostly focus on WWE. But there's some great talent outside of that company. But you have to admit that that company is so full of talent from NXT all the way up to Raw and SmackDown, and everywhere in between. Man, they've got a plethora of talent. And again, what keeps fans coming back? Not just the love of the business, but great feuds make for captivating television. So, I think I'm gonna go watch some Family Feud now. Oh, it's so bad. I'm telling you right now, just go watch it and you'll thank me later, or you'll hate me later. Something like that. One of the two. So, I think that's it, man. I think we're going to take it home. This has been episode number 93. We hope you dug it. Thanks for coming along for the ride. We got to plug our stuff here. Remember, check out boinkstudios.com. I am available for freelance work. Money talks. I'm just playing. Actually, it does. I'm not playing. Feel free to drop me a line, man. boinkstudios@yahoo.com or tomclark1278@yahoo.com, which I don't know if I ever gave that out on the program. That's my own personal email. And the number has a meaning behind it. We'll get to that later at some point, I'm sure. boinkstudios.com. Check me out on Wrestling Rumors. Check me out on Daily DDT and the Chairshot. And hopefully other places in the future. Got a couple of other things in the works. We will see what happens. But yeah, that's all the time we got now today, man. That's it for us. We're going to take this home. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. We do appreciate your business. And we will see you next time on Tom Clark's Main Event.